Okay, today we're going to be refreshing our memory and learning some things about selections. Remember, we've done selections before. We're going to do a little bit of retouching, and with our selections, we're going to do a select, inverse, delete the background so that we can see the clouds coming through, and then we're going to use some of those retouching brushes to get rid of some of these extra power lines and such. All right, so let's begin. Go ahead and open up in the tab, go to File and open up the umbrella assignment. When you notice that as it opens up, you have two layers here, and in those two layers, what you're going to need to do is you see that this little square in here means that it's a smart object. A smart object is not editable in every way. So therefore, because it's an object and not a pixel-based object, we have to convert it back to a pixel base so that we can do a little bit of editing and break apart portions of this picture. To do that, you're going to bring your mouse over on next to the layer where it says umbrellas. Put your mouse over here in this grayed out area. You're going to right click and a pop-up box will come up, and then you're going to click on the word rasterize. And you notice that there's a difference between the umbrella layer and the clouds layer because, see, this one's a smart object and this one now is a rasterized layer. Now, what we're going to do now is we need to select and isolate all of these umbrellas from the background layer. To do so, I am going to use my Quick Select tool that's located on my left side toolbar. If you don't see it, it could be behind your magic wand or object select. So I'm going to use Quick Select. On my option bar up here, I can tell that it's on a new selection. And then when I finish, I can add and subtract out selections from what I've done. So I see here I'm going to start, and notice if you can see that my mouse, the circle is really tiny. I can use the bracket keys on my keyboard that are above your enter key. So I can use the open and then close bracket to make it bigger or smaller, or I can come up here and increase the size of that brush using on the option bar, but I think it's just as easy to use the open and close bracket. So I'm going to have mine kind of small, and I am going to click and start selecting. And I notice that if I just click one time on the umbrella, it is identifying similar pixels, and it's going ahead and selecting those pixels. So it's getting the umbrella for me. Now I want to show you something right here is that, look, I can tell right here, I didn't get it all. So I can kind of click there and get it. Over here I didn't. And I had to re-click and get it. And then I need to click on that one. Now I'm going to show you something. How can I tell if I've gotten all of my selection or not? Well, up here I can click on this word called Refine Edge, and I go into this mode. Now look, this is showing me right here on that there's this white area right here that I have included in my selection and I don't want to. So I know where it's at now. See, I can tell, I can look here, I can see that I've gotten all of my things in selection. Look, right here I don't have it, and over here. So I'm going to close out of that. I'm going to click on the minus, and right here I'm going to take that away. And then I'm going to increase, go in, hold down my space bar to move it, come back to my selection tool, click on the plus, and add in that bottom one. Okay? So now we have all of the umbrellas selected. Now all we're going to do is we're going to come up here to select and go to inverse. Select, inverse. Okay? So what has happened is that when I go to select and inverse, it will select the opposite. Okay? So once I've done that, I can press the backspace or the delete key, and it deletes the opposite of the selection. Okay? Now then, what happened was it deleted all of the other sky and it left the sky that was there. See? If you accidentally made a mistake, do a Control Z and back out of that until you get back to it so that you can then do a select and inverse, and it'll do the correct deleting and the correct inverse of it. So I can see through to the clouds layer and notice that I still have a selection. I want to make sure that I'm not accidentally deleting anything else, so I'm going to do a Control plus the letter D as in Dad on the keyboard so I can deselect what I've selected. All right, so pretty simple, pretty easy. The next step of what we're going to do is we need to get rid of all of these extra lines. We got rid of a lot of them, but here's some power lines left in the umbrellas. So quick and easy, you can use your spot healing brush, you can use a patch tool. You have many tools at your disposal. So I'm just going to do a little spot healing. Again, when you use a spot healing brush, it's exactly the same as any other brush. You can increase or decrease the size of it using the bracket keys. Now, spot healing brush may work for you. It may not. You can use other things. Remember, if I want to use healing brush, I can do so. And so I might use a couple of different things so to see which one works better. And of course, there is that lag time. So I just kind of click and release so that I don't have too much lag time. Now notice when I just did that one, it was off. I'm going to do a Control Z so I can take that one away. The reason why I said that some things may work better than others is because it just depends upon the pixels and where the pixels are at. So that's using my healing brush. If I want to switch over and use, that was spot healing. If I want to use the healing brush, remember that with my healing brush, I need to anchor it to a section. So I'm going to anchor this over here to the yellow. I click there, and then I come over and I can click. And what it's doing, it's copying exactly those pixels over here. And I can see the pixels it is copying from because there's a plus sign in the area where it's copying from. So that's really helpful. So it lets me know if I'm getting too close to something, another area that I don't want. So between your spot healing and healing brush, I want you to go through and go ahead and clean up this area. Okay, so you had time to clean up your umbrellas for all of those different things that you had there. Now then, here's something that you can do. All right, so now let's go back over. The reason why we have to clean it up before we can do anything to it, like change any of the color, add any filters to it, because once you do an image adjustment, if you go back and try to use spot healing after you use the image adjustment, it just doesn't work out to be too great. So right now I'm going to click and make sure I'm on my umbrella layer, and I am going to change a color of a couple of these umbrellas, okay? Because I'd like to kind of liven it up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to my quick select tool, and I'm going to make sure it's on plus, and I'm going to capture and select that yellow umbrella. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to image adjustments, and then I think that I would like to add a little bit of hue and saturation to this. And I'd like to work on the yellow because I want to make it a little bit of a brighter, prettier yellow. So I'm going to adjust it. I want mine to be really yellow. I'm just going to add in some more yellow to it. Go. And I'm going to click OK. So that's definitely more yellow than it was before. Control D to deselect. Now then I can come over here and I can choose another one because I've got so many of the same color. I think I'd like to change some of them. So now I'm going to select this one right here. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to come over here to image adjustments, and this time I think I'm going to come down to hue saturation. All right, move my box so that I can see it. And as I drag across, look, I don't have a green one. I don't think. Let me see. Nope, I don't have a green one, so I think I'd like to have a green umbrella up in the sky. Okay. So what you can do now is you can go through and you can select these, and we need to have different colors. So I only want one of each color. So you can keep the orange, this one, make that one yellow. You can keep this blue and this blue over here, but we need to change the other one. So if it's a repetitive color, change it and make it a different color. And I'll give you time to do that. Okay, so I went through, and as you notice, I went ahead and changed because I wanted every umbrella to be a different color. I just simply highlighted it or selected it, went up to image adjustments, and I used hue saturation, and I made them all a different color. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, so the very last thing that you need to do for this is to add a text box so that you can write a quote, okay? So for my first text box here, I just click on the text box. You can draw it out, find a quote, and up here you can change whatever kind of font you want to use, how you want it to look, the size of it, and so you type it in, the color of it. So what you need to do is you need to actually go and look for a quote from Mary Poppins and type it in. And so whenever you're finished, your final product will look something like this. Okay? Once you do that, then you'll need to go File, and you're going to export as a JPEG, and that will save it, and then you'll upload it into Canvas.